Okay, you're a leader, you have followers. How do you evaluate your followers? How do you evaluate your people? How do you decide whether to promote someone, keep someone, let someone go, invest in them? What's the best way to evaluate your talent? That's a question that Jack Welch asked when he was the CEO at General Electric in the early 1990s. And they decided to create a tool. It's now called the Welch Grid to evaluate their people. They decided there were two factors that were most important in making that decision about talent. The first was evaluating them based on their performance, and they use that on the horizontal axis of the Welch Grid, their performance results. And then they said decided there was a second equally important factor in evaluating their people, and that was their behavior, their alignment with the company's culture, their values. And they put that on the vertical axis of the Welch Grid. So performance on the x-axis, behavior on the y-axis. And that's a tool, the Welch Grid, that I've used for many years myself and then with my clients to evaluate their people. Great tool to evaluate both individuals and teams, companies as well. But we use the tool knowing that that it may not be 100% correct for two reasons. One is that we are all, as human beings, we're all inherently biased in making evaluations. I might favor right-handed people and you favor left-handed people. I like tall people, you like short people. I like, the list goes on. We're all inherently biased in our evaluation, so it's not a perfect tool. And secondly, it's not a perfect tool because we don't have perfect information to make these judgments. So still a good idea, but just know ahead of time it's not a perfect tool. So I would advise at this moment that you pause this video, think about your current team, your staff, your followers. How would you evaluate them on both their performance and then secondly on their fit, their alignment? Using the Welch Grid, maybe just using their initials, plot each of your people on the Welch Grid. Now's a good time to do that. Okay, so you're back. You've applied this Welch Grid to your people. Now what I'd like to do is walk you through each of the four quadrants on the Welch Grid, thinking about particular strategies for leading, directing, managing people in each of these four quadrants. And we're going to start with the superstars. Research indicates that on average, about 15% of a company's employees fall into this upper right-hand quadrant, the superstars, about 15%. And I'll share with you what I've heard over years, the most common strategies for leading superstars. Number one, certainly we want to support them, we want to praise them, we want to recognize them. And I say that because sometimes I think because they're superstars, we overlook this aspect of praise and recognition for superstars. We say, oh, well, of course they're performing great. They're superstars, but they're also human beings. And so they deserve both our praise and recognition. Knowing that each of them is also unique, different. So we want to make sure that however we praise them is fit to them as an individual. We also want to set clear expectations for our superstars. Part of our job as a leader is to set the bar. In this case, for our superstars, is it here? Is it here? Is it here? We have to set expectations, set the bar for their performance. We also we want to give our superstars autonomy. We want to give them space. We shouldn't have to micromanage our superstars, looking over their shoulder, making sure they're doing everything right. No, they've earned the right to work in an autonomous fashion. So give them space. And know that when we're talking about superstars, we're not talking about individuals who are just barely outperforming their peers. The average superstar outperforms their peers by anywhere from 50 to 800%. And that differential goes up based on the complexity of their work. The more complex the work, more likely they're outperforming their peers. There's an article in Harvard Business Review not long ago, and it posed the question, should we cluster our superstars? Cluster meaning, put them all on the same team, or should we divide them up equally amongst different teams? Cluster or not? What do you think? Well, the article, based on hard research, suggests that it is a good idea to cluster our superstars for one primary reason, and that is superstars like working with other superstars. They like being around other strong performers. So it does, in fact, make sense when possible, we should cluster, team up our superstars. There may be reasons to put a superstar on an underperforming team alone, but generally speaking, good idea to have them working together. Another study that I saw not too long ago showed that the average department performance goes up on average about 54% when we add a superstar to a team. You've seen this before. Add a superstar to a team, whether it's your own team or a sporting team, team performance goes up, again, on average, 54%. But this is not what I found most interesting. What was most interesting is they found that 90% of that increase in team performance not directly related to the superstar. What happens when we add a superstar to a team to everyone else's performance? It goes up because they say, wow, that Tim is really good. I've got to raise my game. I've got to get better. I need to improve my performance. So not only do you get a boost from the superstar, you'll also get a boost in their colleagues' performance as well. So those are just some ideas on leading superstars. Next, we'll take a look at the terrorists. Do you have a terrorist on your team?